Hey guys, Steve Good here with the Scroll Saw Workshop. What you see here in front of me is the world's first Marshmello Catapult pistol. Shoots pretty good. Let's take a closer look. This is my Marshmello Catapult pistol. I'm claiming this to be the first catapult pistol ever built. Have no idea if that's true, but I'm going to say it anyway. I'm going to zoom in here and give you a real close look at it. Now, the plans for this will be available on my blog at www.scrollsawworkshop.blogspot.com. It'll be in the catalog, and if you just search for catapult or pistol, either one of those search words will bring it up. And if you're watching this on YouTube, I'll put the link in the description below. The plans will have all the parts to cut out on your scroll saw, and I'll try to give some detail in the plans on how to build it, but I want to use this video because it's easier to show you than it is to necessarily tell you in the plans how to do it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get in here real close. I'm going to show you each of the individual pieces and a little bit about how the construction and how it works. We'll start out with the pistol grip and the platform that the catapult sits on. You slide your finger into this first hole, you wrap your other fingers around the grip, and you're good to go. The platform holds the catapult on top of it, and you simply pull the catapult back, hold on to it with your thumb, load your Marshmello or other projectile in there, and let it go. The catapult itself is mounted onto a 1/4 inch thick piece of Baltic birch plywood. Most of the pieces up here in the catapult are made out of Baltic birch simply because I needed the strength. You'll also notice that I've got two bolts running through here, and I'll give you the specs in the plans on those two. I originally made this with wood dowels, and they just weren't strong enough. The actual action of this is strong enough that it just kept snapping them, so I had to go with these bolts. The catapult payload thingamajigger here is just a simple piece of wood cut into a circle with a piece of Baltic birch underneath it. It is screwed down to the hammer part of the catapult just simply because glue is not enough to hold it on, so you will want to put a small screw right there in the middle. On the very top of the catapult hammer, I put a small eyelet screw, and that's just simply something to hold on to for your thumb down here. I was originally going to put a trigger mechanism on it and have this latch back in place, but once you load the Marshmello up there, you're not going to be walking around with this thing much anyway, and it actually stays in there fairly good. Now you can make this payload holder a little bit deeper if you want to, just however you want to do it, but it tends to hang in there pretty good, and it shoots really good. Okay, if you look here in the center, I've got the two walls for the catapult, and obviously those will be the cut parts will be in the plans for those. The center bolt right here is where the catapult hammer pivots, so obviously you'll want to drill the holes in the center of the catapult to make this free. So if you're using 3/8 inch bolts or 1/4 inch bolts or whatever you decide to use, use the drill bit that drills out the center hole a little bit larger so you get nice smooth action. Between the walls and the hammer, I've got these two little round spacers, and they're just there to keep the hammer centered in the catapult. Again, the plan will include these in there. You just want to, like I cut this, like the centerpiece is or the hammer is 1/2 inch thick piece of Baltic birch plywood. So I cut these two spacers out of 3/4 inch wood and then just sanded them down until they were a nice loose fit where the hammer stayed centered but couldn't move side to side much. Okay, you'll notice these dowels, and these are both wooden dowels here. They don't go all the way through. They're just sticking out the end right here, and that's what holds the rubber band in place. And in the plans I'll give you a really good detailed picture of what that looks like. Now I included two sets. I've got a set down here and a set up here, and that's so you can use different types of rubber bands. I found that the upper set works well with a 3.5 inch 1/4 inch rubber band. That gives you plenty of power, and it's not so strong that it wants to make this contraption fly apart every time you shoot it, because there's quite a bit of power goes into that. If you need a little bit more power, you can add an extra rubber band here, but you really start getting to the point where you're putting a lot of stress on the Catapult if you do that. This isn't intended to go out hunting with. Obviously, it's just for fun. That's why we're shooting marshmallows out of it. I have shot some other projectiles, some ball bearings and some BBs and stuff, and they do okay, but you have to, because of the way the Catapult works, you may have to lift or push down to get a proper ejection of the projectile out of here into a straight path. If you hold it just like this and pull it back, the heavier steel bearings want to shoot at a trajectory that's down and away, so you have to point it up like that. But the Marshmello is just a little bit of uplift and they go pretty straight. The other bolt over here that's on the bottom, it is what stops the Catapult hammer at the top of its travel. And I do this because if you let this thing go all the way over and just fall down to here, then the projectile tends to just want to stay in it's traveling so fast that it won't release the projectile, and it just takes and throws the projectile straight down. So with this bolt right here, the hammer actually comes back and strikes that, and that's what stops it. And when it stops, then obviously the projectile goes forward. So again, that in this case, that you can use whatever bolt you have. They need to be about 3 1/4 inches long, and again, I'll put all this in the plans. I did place a piece of leather right down here where the Catapult hammer strikes that bolt, and that's just to reduce the stress on the hammer a little bit, and also it cuts down on the noise quite a bit. So when this releases and comes back, that piece of leather right there dampens the sound and a little bit of the force on it. And again, that's optional, you don't have to put that on there. You will notice that the base of the Catapult, I actually screwed it into the top of the pistol. Again, it needs that extra strength because there's a lot of force that goes off on this. So those screws, there's one here and one back here, they go all the way through and into the pistol. So you want to line them up to where they're not going into one of these holes or something. So just make sure when you put those screws in there, you line it up. When you place this on the base and pull it back, you want the hammer to overlap the back probably about 1/2 inch, and that just gives you a good place to put your thumb to hold on to it. So just and again, I'll put this in the plans, but just mount it to where you got a little bit of room right there. I've tried multiple different rubber bands from here and here. All of them work. Some of them work better than others. I found that these 3 1/2 inch, 1/4 inch wide rubber bands are by far the best. Any place where these rubber bands touch wood, in other words, right here in the notch in the hammer, see if you can see that notch in the hammer right there, you want to round over those edges nice and smooth. Don't leave any sharp edges there. Don't leave any sharp edges where the rubber band's wrapping around the Catapult. Those sharp edges will cut the rubber band after just several uses. So if you sand those down or file them down, you'll get a lot longer life out of it. So that's pretty much the one-of-a-kind Marshmello Catapult pistol. Search online trying to find another one similar to this or even close to this. I haven't found any. So I think if you build one of these, you'll have something unique. I'm Steve Good. Thanks for being here with me at the Scroll Saw Workshop, and we'll catch you next time.